Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. I pulled out this Data East Star Wars in the back. It's a game I've had for a while. Going to go through it and fix it up, get it ready for sale. Game boots up.
May the force be with you.
Nice. This is my opinion the best Star Wars pinball machine there is. This one doesn't really show so well on the screen. It's really, the side art is really dirty. The cabinet's just, the paint's all there, but it's just really dirty. There's a couple of places where it's nicked up, but he probably touched that up. The legs are a little dirty. The leg levelers are pretty rusty. So let's go through some of this stuff. So I played a few games. All the shot, I think as far as I know, every switch worked. Notice that light's staying on way too much. It's got a little bleed over from something else. Diode's bad or something. So that bulb's a problem. It's got some, I would say, chintzy stuff. I'm not opposed to these trough lights, but the way that's put on there, you can see when you're standing here. Don't really much care for that. Oh, this thing's loud. Advertising Rocky and Bullwinkle there. Let me turn the volume down. So kind of looking in the back box, right off the bat, not just batteries, mixed batteries. I get rid of those and put on a coin cell battery probably. It's got a replacement Rotten Dog power supply. That's good and bad. I mean, the good is it's all fairly new. The caps are new. The header pins are good new. As long as, I don't have to worry about it. But in the future, when you have to work on these, I've found these Rotten Dog boards, it's hard to remove and replace components. For whatever reason, the pads are real small and real sensitive and hard to clean the solder out of them and hard to get the new components in and out. And generally speaking, that is not the case for power supplies on these old machines. They are very rugged and very easy to work with. That is not the case of these Rotten Dogs. I haven't worked on this particular Rotten Dog power supply, but a lot of it in the past I've had trouble with that. So the soundboard down here, it looks like it's got all the original caps on there. The sound works, sounds okay. It does have a little bit of a hum. So that could be old caps, could be some grounding issues, I'm not sure. This driver board appears really unmolested. Might have one new transistor there, probably the original cap there. Might be a good idea to pull this, recap it, and reflow the solder on those pins there. None of the GI lights on the back box here work. And somebody has done some kind of shenanigans here. They've got a jumper wire. Here, I don't know what this is, but this is not factory. So there's that. R2D2 has taken some shots to the head. I'm telling you, he's a tough little old critter. He looks like, this is before he went through the, got all cleaned up for the ceremony at the end of the movie. And that is a well bath. This thing, I didn't notice it when I first was playing. I mean, it spins around. It's because it's got a little motor that spins it, but it's been cracked and repaired pretty well, I would say. I mean, it looks like it took a big, like that whole area there busted out at some point, but somebody has, I think, yeah, the naked eye I can see it better. That whole area has been busted out and repaired, I believe, and then repainted. Whoever did that, bravo. So these drop targets, they're pretty sluggish and nasty. The pop bumpers are not as poppy as they ought to be, but part of that is this design. The whole thing moves, so there's just like a lot of mass to move. Instead of just moving the little ring, they're going to move the whole pop bumper assembly, and it's kind of cool seeing the whole thing shake, but they don't pop as well. I mean, frankly. Everything else, all the rest of the mechanisms work. The flippers are pretty flippy. I haven't looked at the linkages underneath to see how bad they are. Generally speaking, again like this though, unless they've been rebuilt fairly simple. Yeah, that bushing is not very great. This one's better. Wow, that one's got a lot of play, and this one, not much at all. Strange to be so different. So, yeah. So that's where this thing is at right now. Everything's working until I get into it. It's got the V1.04 ROM in it. Apparently there's some kind of a cheat on the skills shot. I haven't looked at, but you're supposed to update this to 1.07 to get rid of that. It's also got some nice features in 1.07, so I may go ahead and burn a new ROM for this, put on 1.07. What else? Yeah, that's about it. Consider an LED in this game, maybe. Given this kind of Star Wars theme, I think it would look pretty good with LEDs in it. It's got, it's got this strip of LED lights that stuck up underneath here. But the way it's done, you can't flip this play field all the way up in the up position without yanking it down. In fact, it's yanked and it's broken the wire. Here, I'll show you here in a second. So there's that LED strip that's up there, just going to give it an additional light in the back. And it is kind of dark back there. But the way they've got it run underneath that red and black wire. So it's coming back up here. And they go all the way up. And they've got it in one of these Comet matrix connectors. They're pretty cool. But I will say, well, the wire they use for these are not, it's super fine gauge. It's like maybe 22, maybe 24 gauge wire. It's real thin and it just snapped off. Somebody did a decent job. The heat shrinked it, but it's just not gonna rub it on that cabinet like that. It's not maybe the best place to have taken the power from. I don't know if there's a better spot. You know, like any of these GIs back here, just solder onto one of these spots here instead of using the matrix connector. Just take it from like both sides of there and around and underneath. But anytime you put these mods in here, they're always a pain in the butt in terms of just moving stuff around. You got all these extra cables wrapping around, wires wrapping around. Speaking of extra wires, I saw a couple down here, and I have no idea where they go. Maybe one of y'all have a Data East Star Wars, you can tell me. There's this one. At first, I thought it plugged into this board here. Look at this, a flipper board, and there's absolutely no place that it plugs in there. I mean, that's kind of where the muscle memory of the wire looks like it went, or maybe it's the old speaker wire, because they've got this new upgraded speaker in here, but that yellow and black, it looks like the factory wire. It's all bundled inside with the rest of them. So there's that, and then there's also this wire here. Yeah, so this one here with the connector is gray and white, and I don't know, gray and blue and purple or something like that. Then there's this other one just been cut. It's kind of I don't know, one's blue or lavender, and the other one's just kind of brownish. I have no idea where those go. But like I say, everything appears to be working. I mean, the sound's going. With the exception of the hum, the sounds pretty decent, to be honest. Oh yeah, tilt bob. Didn't want to worry about shaking this game too much. Yeah, these flipper linkages. Let's look at. Yeah, no, it's not much slop in that one. Considerable in that one. Let me check the back part. Strange. Be so different. In any case, what else? Yeah, this game wouldn't be too awful bad to LED. These are always fun to take off and put back. Usually it's pretty stuck. A lot of times when you put them back, then they don't work. You gotta pry the prongs out and Not my favorite kind of bulb holder. But I guess what I'll start with is fixing the stuff that's actually broken or absolutely has to be fixed. So I'll try to get those GI lights back here working and do some, not so much repairs, but maintenance on those boards. Get rid of the batteries, check the header pins, make sure they're actually don't have a bunch of cold solder on them. I don't know there was anything in that one. Or that one, for that matter. I don't think I got that one very well right there. Make sure I'm yep, that's it. Oh, it's just glue holding it. It's like, what is holding it? It was feeling really weird. It's just glue. I'm just going to get rid of these other ones. I might use them depending on where I put my battery holder. So this one's already got alkalins in there, so it should have a diode built into the system. Just leave the old glue. All right. So it looks like this is the positive corner here. It wraps around right there, and that's the diode. I flip around the other side, and that is, oops, yeah. It actually goes from there, not there to there, but from there to there. That's the diode that keeps this thing from being charged. We've got my multimeter continuity test. So this is the one I had marked positive on the back side. You can see it's feeding through this diode to provide the 5 volts to the board, but the board can't charge back this way because this basically acts like a check valve. It only goes that way, won't go that way. And put the, yeah, y'all can see this. Put this on the ground, and there's our ground. All the rest of these are isolated. There's no trace. So there's our positive and there's our negative. So and we don't need a diode on this board, So we can just, I believe this is going to fit just like that. Sure enough. So that's an easy one. Wrong hole. Some of y'all probably want me to solder those out, but you know, I'm just gonna leave them open. They're not hurting anything. All right. So that's, I'm probably gonna change this, like, well, you can't see what I'm doing here, pointing at. I'm probably gonna change this out, but I'll do that once I get it back in the game. Go ahead and throw this battery in there. One last check, that's the positive side. I got the positive side, I got the board marked positive, so it's all good to go. You know, this thing does have 2 electrolytic caps on it. I might as well try and change them out. They're probably, you know for sure those things are original. I don't see a date code on it, but for sure it's pretty old. I'm gonna do that just real quick. To do on this board. I'll cut it out. I'll swap this thing out when it's in the game. I'm gonna throw this back in there. Just make sure I didn't do anything radical. I mean, I haven't done much with the battery and 2 caps, so if it doesn't, when I put it back in, if it doesn't work, I'll know where to look. So I figured it's time to fix these GI lights. I've pulled up the schematics over here on the computer. So, by the way, most of the schematics, except for the Gottliebs, are all online. It's ipdb.org. So I always just type in the name of the game and IPDB in Google, and it'll bring you right to it. Anyway, so for the power supply, let me zoom in here. Slide on over. Maybe zoom in another time or two. So the backbox door, it's kind of fuzzy, and that's not my phone. That is basically the copy, unfortunately. So the backbox door lights, that's a 6.3 volts AC, so it's across these 2 pins. So it's a brown and a white and brown wire, and the white and brown one is fused from F4, so that's definitely something to check. And the AC is across 1 and 6. So, when you're trying to measure the AC, you got to measure both sides of it. You can't, it's generally can't go across the ground unless you find the hot one, but it's best to just go between the 2 sides of the AC signal. So we'll go across 1 and 6. First thing I'm going to check is F4 and see if that fused, because that'd be a real simple fix, unless it's blown, and then, well, it's a simple fix. At least it tells you what direction to look, but usually there's something else a little bit deeper. So I've got the game turned off here. F4 is that one right there. Just pry that out. Let me get my multimeter. Usually you can get away with checking these in circuit, but sometimes you'll get a false false good reading, so it's good. Especially on a lot of college games, it seems like that's more prone. They're more prone to that. Basically, where you've got something in parallel, and it'll show that it's good when it's not. So that fuse is good. So it was CH8. So it's this top one, and it's the brown. And the white and brown. So, and one of them was at the end, and one was right across the plug. So it's this wire here and this wire here. So I'm gonna pull this off, and turn the game on and see if I can measure 6 volts.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you also, Obi-Wan. Gosh, does anybody recognize that imitation? Says more about you than it does me, maybe. Okay, so I don't have the MPU in there, and you're like, why? How's this thing talking? I do have the soundboard in here, and the soundboard is its own little computer. You know, the MPU is a computer, this is a computer, and basically the MPU tells this computer when to speak. I guess when it boots up, this one just decides, I'm going to talk. So it's the top one there and that one right there. And I need to put my multimeter, hold on 1 second, on voltage. And I'm reading 6.72 volts, supposed to be 6 volts or 6.5, so that's good. Okay, so that's not my problem. It's something downstream from that, so. So that brown, white and brown, that looks like it right there. Yeah, that's one of the regular. It's hard to tell. Some of these are flashers. So I should have 6 volts right across there. So let me.
May the force be with you.
I bet I don't, unless every single bulb in this whole back box is blown out or something really crazy. Nothing. Well, let me look around here. We got voltage there, white and brown and white and brown. It's the same wires here. So there's a connection or something in between the two of them. I don't know. I'll look around and see what I find. So that brown and white and brown wire goes through this connector here. It comes in on this side. Those bottom 2 pins there. Across and comes back out there, and where it comes out, it runs through, goes to that bundle right up here. So I'm gonna break this thing open and see if it's making it through this connector, and see if we got 6.5 volts in the middle of it. I'm gonna have to get my stand for this. All right, so I'm gonna try to measure these bottom 2 leads without touching anything else. And y'all can't see it, but it's 6.63 volts AC, so it's making it through there. I'm gonna plug this back in and see if we've got 6.5 volts coming out the other side. Let's take a, wow, I don't know if you can see that, but that pin there looks pretty burnt up. That could be the whole problem, that pin burn up. I bet that's it. Yeah, y'all can still see that. Okay. Let's see if I can. We got nothing. Yeah, I'm gonna just repin that red connector there. I bet that fixes it. I'll show you a little closer up. See that brown pin there is pretty toasty. Look down inside of there, it's all rusty. That's not gonna work. So yeah, that's gonna put a new connector on there. All right, so I got it all repinned. Got a plug in there so nobody can ever get it in there backwards, including me. And I'm gonna turn it on and see what happens. Oh, I got just real quick, I gotta take that jumper off, at least one end of it, because Let me back up so y'all can see. Yeah, somebody had put a jumper, so there still might be other issues with this. I don't know. So I'm gonna boot it up and see what happens.
May the force be with you.
Still. Oh, yeah. Well, we have half of them. Let me get y'all on the stand here. I bet if we put that jumper back, we'd have the other half. Well, I did a little digging around, so we get the brown and white and brown is one set of AC leads, and there's another one, this green and white and green also. So they start same place up here, green and white and green. So I guess it was if I go back to the schematic here, I was looking at the back box, but there's also the back box stores down here, which is the green and the white and green. Hard to read, but that's what it says. So we got the same issue, except I did repin the green and the white and green, so maybe it's not making it. I may have to repin the other side also. So I'm gonna break that thing open and start measuring voltages. I guess I could start up here, see if it's coming out there. Maybe we got the same thing. It could be the fuse over here, but we'll figure it out. So I'm gonna measure the voltage on these middle two pins and see if I've got 6.3 volts coming across. I'm measuring 2, which is basically nothing. Okay, so because it's not even loaded up, so there's most likely it's probably not making good contact through the IDC connector or the pin itself. So I'm gonna repin that and I'll take care of both of those. Well, they got the second one all repinned. The plug in there, so I'm gonna connect it and just eyeball, make sure all the wires match up. They do. I'm gonna turn it on and see if the lights come on.
May the force be with you.
Yeah, we got them all on now. There's a few that don't look like they're on. Those are flashers, so I'm not worried about those for the moment. And so, yeah, just bad connector. So basically, one of them failed, and so then somebody had the idea of putting a jumper across here, and that'll work for a while. But you know, these GI circuits are generally undersized anyway. So now you're putting twice as much through that other one, and then it's almost certainly going to fail. So best idea just to repin them. I mean, I know not everybody's got all this stuff to do at their house, and they jump it, or maybe it was in an environment and making quarters, and this was a quick fix. So, and it lasted 3 years, so maybe it was a great idea, but it's fixed better now. Okay, so next up, I'm going to work on a lamp matrix issue, I believe it is. So this lamp here is pretty much on all the time. I am actually in the lamp test right now, and all the lamps should be cycling. I know that it's kind of strobing. That's just the rate of my phone. So anyway, this thing is staying on all the time. It is kind of pulsing a little bit, but it never extinguishes. Likewise, this one, to a lesser extent, it never extinguishes either. I mean, this one could be partially, but it's LED, but these other ones have LEDs also. It's more than ghosting. It's like staying on halfway. I think I've scanned this play field. I believe every other light, that light's just not working at all. I looked underneath, tried to swap the bulb. It's not just a bulb issue. It's something larger. Haven't dug into that yet. But, that'll be the problem the whole time. Save it for last, right? So anyway, I'm going to go through the Data East. They've got a nice feature where you can go through and look at everything on each column and row and kind of see what fires us up. I have already found that lamp, so that is a power scoop left. So it's row 7, column 6. So when I go through the column and row test, it should only light on those rows and columns. So I'm going to advance here 1 notch. So now I'm on rows. So if I press the start button here, I can just cycle through them. So I'm on row 1, and it's on. Now if I look on row 1, we're not even close to it, you know. So it's pretty much stays on most of the rows. There's row 1, 2, 3, 4 is off. It's supposed to be off. 5, 6, 7, and 8 is dimly on. So pretty much almost all the rows were on. I mean, I think 4 was off. 2, 3, yeah, 4 is off. That's not real helpful. Okay, so I'm going to advance to the columns, see if that's any more useful here. There's the columns. So there's column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is, I may have said column 7. It's CN7, but it's column 6. So that's when it's supposed to come on. It comes on, and so you go through all the columns. So the column test works. So it only comes on when it's supposed to. So the other, let me advance one more menu item in here. So we can also go through each lamp test individually. So just lighting that S. So now it's just doing S. So I'm going through each lamp individually. Light that S, I get a dim signal there. So basically, turn this lamp on, and this lamp is burning. By the way, this is not an LED. That's an incandescent bulb. So it's not just like ghosting. Well, it is ghosting, but it's ghosting enough with an incandescent. So it's more than a ghost. It's a pretty good trickle. So I think what I'm going to do, since I didn't get a lot of good information from the row and column because there was just so much, I'm going to maybe just try to map these out and see which one of these, see if there's a pattern or something. I don't know. I mean, probably the obvious thing is probably look under here and check this diode right here. I'm going to get to that real quick here. But first, I'm just going to map these out and see if it says anything because I'm interested. All right, so I went ahead and mapped all this out. On the sides here, I wrote down what we did together here. I've written down, so these are the rows. So if I went the row test, that light there was on if I lit up, if I energized that row. So that's on, on, on. Row 4 was off, 5, 6, 7, and 7 it was supposed to be on because that's where it exists. And 8 it was on but a little bit dim. And on the columns they were all off except for row or column 6, which is where it exists, which should be on, and they're off. So then I just went through and did the individual test, and it basically follows the same pattern for the most part. Well, almost exactly. So it's, like it basically goes through an order like this. So I was just running through the numbers, counting up. So it's on, off, on, off. So basically the line, the row and column where this existed worked properly. So that dash doesn't mean that Star Wars didn't work. That dash means that this power scoop was not lit when I was lighting up the Star Wars light. So that Star Wars light lit, but the power scoop light lit also when I was lighting the Star Wars. That's what, or in that case it did not light because it's got a dash. This Star Wars light number 6, when that one lit, this one lit also because that one has a circle. So you see the kind of the pattern. Here's the one thing that came out. That's row 4. I told you that one light, this 10 million Jedi return. That's the 10 million right. So isn't it a coincidence that the only row that didn't malfunction is the same row that exists on? Maybe that's a total coincidence. Makes me wonder why that, because like I said, I did swap a new bulb in there. I tried twisting the socket, just did the real simple stuff, and couldn't get it to work. So I am wondering, I'm thinking I'm going to look at that. I may start by just cutting the diode off of there and take a look at that socket really well. Well, I'm in lamp test mode, and it's exactly the same. I just went through the rows and columns and didn't change a single thing. But this still doesn't work. What do I know? I know that diode was bad, so I'm gonna have to put a new one in there. But it's out of the system, so that is not causing this leakage across. So somewhere there's something else. I'm gonna go ahead and start by. I can't really get to this one. I'm gonna have to take this assembly apart and get to the underside of it and check out that one. So So I checked the diode test, right, that one right there underneath that red lamp, and it checked out just fine. It's like I didn't take it apart. I was able to reach the leads underneath there. It's like 0.55 or something like that. Tested good. So I don't know what I'm doing here at the moment. I did replace that diode there, and that bulb's back to life. So did fix a problem, not the one I was looking for. But yeah, that bulb was never going to work, that old diode. I've still got the same issue though, where that bulb is on all the time, and it's not going to be easy because there's so many things that light it up. Somewhere there's a small short. It could be a diode, it could be in a lamp socket, something's touching, could be a lot of different places. It's going to be really hard to figure out what the problem is. So this is not going to be fun. I think I'll put you all aside for a little bit and dig into this while, and when I find something, if I find something, I'll let you know. Okay, a little bit of update after. So I just got through fixing that light there. I put the new diode in there, and this thing works now. This 10 million light. That's the one we fixed. So now, when you go through and do the column test, when you get to this fourth column, this thing lights now, just like the others. And when you do the individual tests and do each bulb, all these will also like this. So we got to modify all those to circles also. So the picture is becoming a little bit more clear. Where you see dashes on the column of the power scoop. The row of the power scoop you also see on the row 8. When you get to row 8, I said that this one was weak, so I wrote down because it was significantly weaker than the others. Yeah, I just said I was going to look at row 8. The first one I'm going to look at is this one right here, because it's a common denominator between this row here that's different and this one here that's messed up. So I'm going to look at that power scoop right and see what I can find. All right, well, I've had a little sleep on it. Came this morning and I mapped this out in a little bit more detail. There was a few more problems on it that I realized. I think this is complete. So I went through the switch test on the machine, and so I lit up, I'm sorry, not switch test, the lamp test, lit up Star Wars 1. Star Wars 1 would also light the power scoop left. That's that red light we were looking at. Likewise, all these circled in the lime green, all those, that little rectangle, all those, and all those would light up the power scoop left. But there was a couple other ones. So that right turbo bumper, I said that was kind of ghosting. It would come on if any of the column 9 were energized. So 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, all the turbo bumpers, the R2D2 dome. You light up 59, that one comes on. Even 64 would light up that one. One more thing, the power scoop right. If anything on the bottom, with the exception of, I marked this one down, but it's actually, this column didn't have any errors at all. So 32 didn't do anything wrong, but all the rest of this row, light up any of those, including this one, it would light up the power scoop right. So this one here, the bottom turbo bumper, it would light up this one and that one and the bottom turbo bumper. Just for just for completion, I looked to see if this light was working. So, and I went back and checked, and that upper left out lane, that does work. So that bulb was working. So probably, well, I don't know for sure. Either there's a short between a couple of the wires under the playfield, or quite possibly there's a diode that is not restricting the flow from going backwards, and I've got something going backwards. So let me kind of give you a more literal description here. So here's
Here's the one, that red lamp that Power Scoop left that's lighting up when you do any of these up here. So basically what you've got going on, you know, when you're doing the lamp test, you're applying power on this line here. And you're lighting that lamp. And you're also, so basically you're closing that transistor there, and you're also closing that transistor there. So after it goes through that lamp, so you got 6.5 volts here. Average is 6.5. You know, Williams has it weird where they're using 18, but it's only on a third of the time, so you get about 6 volts. After it goes through that lamp, you might still have a little bit of voltage, because it's still got to push through that wire and get back to the board. So you might have a half an amp, or sorry, you might have a half a volt or a volt of. Basically, you're down to pretty close to ground right there. Going back. But here's the deal. So all these other transistors over here, they're all open. So the voltage can't get out. So basically all these lines, even though the lamps are not lit, or they shouldn't be lit, you've still got voltage all the way up to the board. It just can't get out. So because it can't get out, there's no current. So that keeps this one from lighting. But it's got voltage on both sides of it. So what happens is, if let's say one of these diodes fails, if that so the diode allows electricity to go in the direction of the arrow only. That's what it's supposed to do. But if it fails and allows it to go backwards, you can get the electricity going backwards, and then that will light. If this thing has another path to get off the board, or off the play field back out here, then you get the thing lit. And you know, if you look here, we've got these three in the diagonal, and then this one's kind of controlling both axes. So you've got this little rectangle. So I'm going to focus on these four, and I bet I find one or two that are either shorted and or bad diode. I think that's where I'll go next. So I just pulled that bulb out of there, went through my tests, and all my problems have gone away just by pulling that bulb out. I still probably have another problem somewhere, but at least that's a big part of it. I know that. So probably that diode is failed, even though I tested it and it tested good with the diode test, but those are not 100%. So I'm going to pull that lamp out of there, and it could be just the lamp is a little bit shorted too. So let's go back. All right, I think I may have figured it out. First thing I should have noticed, if I'd have been paying a little bit more attention, is these are not factory solder. So anytime you see something not factory, always question it. So somebody's reattached these two wires, and if you look at it, the red lead is attached to the unbanded side of the diode. So red is unbanded. If we go down here at 47, there's the banded side. It goes to the red. So I believe what somebody's done is they've put these wires on there backwards. So let's swap. So basically, this diode is running the wrong direction. Let's swap it around and see what happens. All right, I got this thing resoldered with the banded side over there towards the red. Booted up. It's not going to go into a track. There's only balls in it, so I'll just go into the diagnostics, into the run lamps. That's blinking like it should. Let me go one more. We'll go into some of the other tests. Row test. So we come on, there's 8 rows. Oh, that's 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 1, 8. Perfect. And
And this one, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, it's 1 out of 8. So it's cool. So all those issues, crazy nonsense, was actually the diode wasn't necessarily backward, but in a sense it was backwards because the leads were backwards. The diode hadn't been moved, but the wires had been moved. So note to self, when you see non-factory work, question it always. Well, these two pups are not interested in this video at all, but if you had a little bit more fun than these two, go ahead and press like and press that subscribe button, and I'll see you back real soon. Cheers.